Well, welcome back. We will reconvene the September 13th Dublin City Council meeting. Christina, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Okay, this evening we have a special presentation. I think we have some special guests with us here this evening. So if you will meet me just down here, I will be down momentarily. Come on up here. Come here, right here. How are you? Good, good. Well, we are so glad to have you with us this evening, and as we recognize Childhood Cancer Month here in the city of Dublin, we have a proclamation for you, and then maybe you'll have a few words to share with us. So the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas September is National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and the city of Dublin commends the American Cancer Society for its efforts in making continued advances that will improve outcomes for childhood cancers. And whereas the American Cancer Society is funding research that helps to better understand childhood cancers and develop effective therapies without compromising the quality of life for the child and his or her family during and following treatment. And whereas because of major treatment advances in recent decades, 84% of children with cancer now survive 5 years or more versus 58% in the mid-1970s. And whereas Griffith Thomas Elementary third grader Corbin Narad was diagnosed with stage 3 neuroblastoma when he was only 6 months old and underwent 4 rounds of chemotherapy as well as surgery. And whereas Corbin is now 8 years old and has been cancer-free since his first birthday. And although he still feels the effect from his battle with cancer, he doesn't let it slow him down. And whereas organizations like the Friends of Faith Pruden Foundation raise awareness of childhood cancer in the Gold Ribbon campaign and help families like Corbin's by providing support, including happy mail, family outings, new bikes, many smiles, and much joy. Now, therefore, I, Chris Ambrose Grooms, Mayor of the City of Dublin, on behalf of Dublin City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and encourage Dublin residents to show support for childhood cancer survivors, those who are being treated, and those who have lost loved ones by wearing or displaying a gold ribbon during the month of September, signed this 13th day of September 2021. So, Corbin, Mom or Dad, would you want to share a few thoughts with us?
Sure. Can I have my hand, please? Thank you. Do you want to say something? No, you don't? Okay. Well, so as you know, this is a personal matter for us. Childhood Cancer Awareness Month is not just a month for us. This is our lives. And when he was first diagnosed, I didn't understand the world of childhood cancer until we were impacted by it. So we as a family have made it one of our life missions to spread awareness, obnoxious gold ribbon boots, but just spread awareness about the realness of childhood cancer. It's not rare, and it can hit anybody's family. It doesn't matter gender, race, age, anything like that. It can happen to anybody. So for the city of Dublin to acknowledge this and join our family in raising awareness and making it a priority is really special and important to us. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. This is for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you, Corbin.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, while the most fun people in our chamber make their way out, we will assume the balance of the city business. Okay, citizen comments. Want to take a moment if there's anyone present that would like to make public comment on any item that is not on this evening's agenda? Here or virtually? Lindsay's shaking her head. We don't have any virtual ones either. So we will move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes of August 30th. Is there a request to remove any item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I will motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Reiner. Mr.
Yes.
Reiner. Mr. Peterson. Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Okay. We have one postponed item as we wait for our screen to subtly make its way down to show your presentation I'm sure you worked long and hard for. It will be Ordinance 43-21.
Adopting the 2022 through 2026 5-year capital improvements program.
Great, thank you. And our staff report this evening will be by Mr. Matt Stifler.
Good evening, members of council. The postponed ordinance was modified to reflect the changes at our last reading. Those changes are outlined in the memo accompanying the ordinance. And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions. Staff does recommend approval of the 5-year CIP at tonight's reading.
Very good, thank you. I want to take a moment for public comment if there's anyone either present here physically or virtually that would like to make comment regarding this legislation. Hearing none. Council questions, discussion? Hearing none. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson.
Brings us to second reading public hearing ordinances, Ordinance 54-21.
Adopting and enacting a supplement to the Code of Ordinances for the City of Dublin, Ohio.
Thank you. And our staff report will be from our Law Director, Jennifer Ayler. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, members of council. Consistent with council's direction at the last meeting, we've deleted the sections of the supplement dealing with low-speed micromobility devices. There are no other changes, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Would anyone present, either virtually or in person, like to make comment relative to this legislation? Hearing none. Council questions, discussion? I think we got all those out at first reading. That being said, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo. Yes. Mr. Peterson. Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 55-21.
Amending the annual appropriations for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2021.
Thank you. And we will go back with Mr. Stifler.
Good evening, council. There have been no changes since the first reading of this ordinance, and staff does recommend approval at tonight's council meeting. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Is there any public comment in person or virtual on this legislation this evening? Hearing none. Council questions, discussion? We all are quiet tonight. Very good. Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Mr. Peterson. Yes. Mayor Ambrose Grooms.
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa.
Yes.
Ms. Aludo.
Yes.
Ms. Fox.
Yes.
Mr. Reiner.
Yes.
Ordinance 56-21.
Authorizing the city manager to execute an easement with American Electric Power for the installation of supplemental electric service from Riverside Drive to Riverside Crossing Park.
Very good. Well, Mr. Ehrman, welcome. Well, staff report will be by Matt Ehrman.
Good evening, members of council. There are no changes made to this ordinance since the first reading. Staff is recommending approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone that wishes to make public comment regarding this legislation this evening? Hearing none. Council questions, discussion? Yes, ma'am. Jane.
Matt, I was just curious, on that design where it's the transformer will be hidden within that long rectangular flower bed, is that design incorporated in the design of the swing and all that along Riverside Drive? Is that all part of the same design?
No, this is already in process of construction. So the promenade will be further north to this particular landscape easement.
Okay, so it's, okay, but it is taken into consideration, the total design, the holistic design?
Yes.
This is all part of the holistic
Yes, it is.
design. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any others? Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo? Yes. Mr. Peterson? Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes, thank you. Brings us to introductions, first reading, public hearing, ordinances. Ordinance 57-21.
Authorizing the provision of certain incentives to Vargo, Inc. to induce it to purchase or cause the purchase of a facility to relocate several offices to a new single office within the city and to expand that office and its associated operations and workforce within the city, and authorizing the execution of an economic development agreement.
I will introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And our staff report this evening will be with Eric Meyer. I think this is your first time here before us this evening, so welcome.
Thank you.
Special.
Good evening, members of City Council. Vargo has run out of space at its Dublin and Hilliard facilities and is looking to consolidate and have space to grow. Vargo works with retailers and manufacturers, wholesalers, and e-commerce distributors to improve material handling operations. They also provide a software solution that they implement in these various lines of business to help improve efficiencies. The proposed project is for 7 years from 2023 to 2029 and will result in approximately $164,000 of payroll performance incentives and a $50,000 facility acquisition grant. The project retains 26 jobs, relocates 28 jobs from Central Ohio, and creates 34 jobs. I would like to note that no jobs relocated from other Central Ohio communities would be eligible for the payroll performance incentive. Staff recommends passage of this ordinance at the next City Council meeting, which I believe is on September 27th. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this project.
I'm going to take a moment for public comment if there's anyone present that would like to speak relative to this legislation. Hearing none, council questions, discussion? Yeah.
Thank you. I want to thank you, Eric, for your work on this. I look at this as a headquarters company, logistics, smart technology, part of the Dublin family already. So a wonderful addition, and I appreciate your work on that. And we look forward to, I guess, hearing from the members of the Vargo organization next time. Thank you.
Yes, I would add that I believe we're expecting the CEO to show up next City Council meeting. Sorry for not mentioning that earlier.
Well,
Other comments? Okay, well, hearing none, we will look forward to seeing you back on September the 27th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance 58-21.
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a real estate purchase agreement for certain property owned by Mitchell E. and Kimberly S. Haff, located at 6191 Cosgray Road in Franklin County, Ohio, authorizing the execution of related agreements and documents and appropriating funds therefore.
I'll introduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And the general will be our staff report tonight. Welcome, Mr.
Good
McDaniel.
evening. Thank you. Good evening, members of council. Staff's recommending the purchase of the Haff property located at 6191 Cosgray Road. As council is aware, you recently authorized the purchase of the Jewett property immediately adjacent to and essentially bordering 3 sides of the property as described in the staff report, and as Kirby has put up here on the screen here for you this evening. The sale price is $149,000 for the .89 acre parcel, which also has some improvements on the site. The city's did pay $100,000 per acre for the Jewett property immediately adjacent to this property. Therefore, the acreage and the improvements on the site make this an equitable cost transaction. Staff will continue to assess the historical value of the improvements as we progress through the purchasing process, and we'll keep you apprised of that. And then again, staff recommends approval of this ordinance at the next second reading public hearing. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thanks, General. I want to take a moment for public comment. Anyone present in person or virtually that would like to speak relative to this legislation? Hearing none. Council questions, discussion? No? Well, this is really going to make for a really nice parcel for perhaps economic development, perhaps use of expand parkland or whatever the city might see fit to use this in the future, but certainly grateful to the Haff family and being good partners and helping see this transaction across the line. So we will have second reading on this on September the 27th as well.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to waive the council rules of order to consider ordinances 59-21 and 60-21 together. Is there a second? Thank you. Jenny?
Mr. Peterson? Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Ms. Aludo? Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Reiner? Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance 59-21.
Authorizing the city manager to execute an easement with property owner Jack G. Weber III and Nicole L. Weber along the Indian Run Meadows Planned Use Development Corridor for landscape maintenance. And ordinance 60-21 is regarding the property owner owned by Anthony L. Salustro.
Thank you.
I'll reduce it.
Thank you, Christina. And we'll go back to Mr. Ehrman with our staff report.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. These two ordinances are in reference to the city's continued effort to secure the landscape easements along Avery Muirfield Drive within the Indian Run Meadows planned use development. These two new parcels, as noted up on the map, plus the yellow parcels indicate what staff is currently securing, and efforts are continuing with the remaining residents to bring forward additional easements as we get those confirmed. So with that, staff will bring this forward to the second reading on the 27th, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Matt. Is there anyone present, either in person or virtually, that would like to make comment regarding this legislation? Hearing none, council questions, discussion? I would just like to add that we really appreciate the Weber family and the Sutro family for partnering with us on this, and look forward to a really positive relationship with them as we work on these greenways throughout our community. We'll look forward to the second hearing on September the 27th. Thank you. Brings us to introduction, public hearing, vote, resolution 53-21.
Accepting the amounts and rates and authorizing tax levies.
I'll reduce it.
Thank you. We'll go back to Mr. Stifler, third time's a charm, huh?
It is. Hopefully this is just as quick. Routine resolution here, setting the annual rates that reflect the previously adopted earlier tonight CIP. Happy to answer any questions. This ordinance requires adoption by October 1st so that we could meet the county auditor's deadlines.
Very good, thank you. Is there any member of the public, in either present or virtually, that would like to make testimony relative to this legislation? Hearing none, council questions, discussion? Hearing none, Jenny, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Aludo? Yes. Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yes.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson? Mr. Reiner?
Yes.
Mayor Ambrose Grooms?
Yes. Okay, other business. We have before us the proposed 2022 calendar. Jenny has provided it in this packet. Also, there is a list of dates associated with this that she or the clerk staff planned around. I bring it up tonight for us to consider, and on our next meeting, we will hold a vote on this. Are there any comments relative to this? I would only propose one possible meeting change. It is purely selfish. It is my son's birthday on March the 14th. And I'm wondering if it would be at all acceptable to the balance of council if we held our special meeting, our council employee performance review, on another night other than that Monday. I would propose another night, perhaps Tuesday the 8th, or some other evening the week of the 7th, if that would be agreeable, and Jenny can circulate that prior to our, in our packet prior to our next meeting, and we will be prepared to vote on it at that point in time. Any other changes? They missed all of your birthdays. Wow, that's good. Okay, well, thank you, Jenny, for putting that together and assembling that so thoughtfully in avoiding all of the holidays and school events. So appreciate that. We'll be back for a vote on September the 27th. Brings us to staff comments.
Thank you. Only a couple items, really just a couple heads-up items. In tomorrow's city manager update, You're going to see one memo reference some feedback that we received on the sign ordinance that was recently passed. You might recall the sign ordinance is in reference to commercial properties and lease availability and for sale. So just a heads up that there's some comments attached to that. Staff will stay in contact with those folks and certainly hear out what their concerns are and bring any other information back to you later. The other item, though, that I did want to mention is another memo in your packet that has to do with Post Preserve and the entryway to Post Preserve. It appears that we're going to be official here. And if she didn't have her mask on, you'd see her big grin behind her face there with Megan and Paul and others that we've achieved a right-in, right-out solution at Post Preserve with the Ohio Department of Transportation. So we'll be able to keep that open as the interchange improvements occur, as well as potentially the Highland Glen development happens there on the property there at the corner of Post Road and Highland Croy Road. So just wanted to make you aware of that. And unless you have any questions, that's all I had to report out tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you, General. We'll go to council reports, committee reports, admin committee. Vice Mayor DeRosa?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody for a great retreat last week. I added it up. It was great to spend 10 hours with all of you in discussion. There's so much going on, so many opportunities, and certainly things that we address together as a community. So it was wonderful to be able to step back and do some future planning and spend some time together. Thank you to staff who prepared materials for us, for Jenny, for her help in that. And look forward to our work ahead on that in the year to come. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Community Development Committee, Mr. Reiner.
Nothing, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Finance Committee, Ms. Ludo.
Nothing.
Public Services Committee, Ms. Fox.
We have a meeting coming up this Wednesday. The agenda includes an update on outreach and engagement, staff update, fleets and facility as an asset management and support services. And then we've kind of asked to have staff update us also on looking forward at projects or issues that they're coming on the horizon, so that we have an opportunity to know what's coming and have a little bit of council input on that. So that'll be this Wednesday.
Great, thank you. Council Roundtable. I'll start down here with Mr. Peterson. Nothing to share. Okay. Ms. Ludo? Mr. Reiner?
There's just three Sunday the Scioto. There's just three Sunday the Scioto concerts left, and I just want to share with you while busing and collecting money and walking amongst the crowd, I heard these couple comments. Best lineup of any cities. You guys have the best musicians of anybody. We do have competing cities that also have this kind of concert thing. The other comment was appreciate the late fall schedule. Everybody else is pretty much done. Ours is sort of moving into the fall with 3 more concerts, which will end October the 3rd. So yay for the Dublin Arts Council. They're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reiner. Mr. Keeler?
I just wanted to echo Kathy's comments about the retreat. You know, to a casual observer watching these meetings, some of them can be shorter than others and there may not be a lot of comments. But the heavy lifting really happens in those retreats, and I'm humbled to serve with a group of such sharp, smart, forward-thinking people. It was nice to roll up our sleeves and get the good work, hard work done.
Thanks, Sandy. Jane?
I want to say thank you to the Washington Township Fire Department for having the 9/11 memorial service Saturday. It was touching. It was reverent. It was chilling to see the piece of metal from the World Trade Center. And it was nice to feel people around us all feeling the same thing about how we feel as a country. So I thank the Washington Township Fire Department about that. And then the second thing is I don't want to leave out the police department. This coming Wednesday, I want to remind the public that at 6:30 at the Dublin Rec Center is the Dublin Suicide Prevention Town Hall. And if one were to look at the numbers of runs that we have for concerns about personal safety when it comes to our suicide threats or feeling that you might want to harm yourself, it would frighten you, I think, sometimes. And I think it's really rewarding, and it makes me feel very proud of our police department to take this conversation to the public and allow people to talk about it to hear where the help is and not to be afraid to discuss it. So I thank you for that, and I hope that everyone who feels like they just want to hear about the conversation comes. And I know it's recommended that anyone under the age of 18 be accompanied by a parent or guardian. So I want to make sure we get this out there, and I thank you for that.
Thanks, Jane. Kathy?
Thank you. I will also extend my appreciation and thanks to the Washington Township Fire Department. I was able to attend the ceremony and memorial with Jane. It was very touching, and it was wonderful to see the families out there. Some small kids who were not aware of what we were talking about, but many of us clearly talked about, we know exactly where we were and what was happening on that day. So it was a chance for community building as well. So thank you to Chief and for the Township Memorial. I want to thank Megan and staff for the work on the post-preserve entrance. I know this has been a really important conversation with the residents in that area, and they've been engaged in that, and I know they'll be happy to hear this, and thank you very much for your work on that. Very much appreciated. And then finally, because we have just a couple minutes, I just wanted to thank our some partners in our community, particularly tonight, the Glacier Ridge Metro Park partners. I've had an opportunity to ride that park a lot. I rode it this weekend, beautifully groomed, lovely, and appreciate it, and would encourage people to get out and give it a ride here before it gets chilly this fall, but it's absolutely fabulous, and we appreciate their work and their partnership. And to get to the Metro Park, you've got to ride through our beautiful park. So I want to say thank you to our staff and team that work on that, because they look amazing and they've been incredibly busy here this fall. And for someone who rides them a lot, I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciate it and enjoy it daily. So thank you for the opportunity to do that. Thanks.
Great. I don't have a whole lot to add other than when I told my family that we were having our council retreat, I think there was an excessive amount of excitement because they thought we were going somewhere. And there was going to be pizza and brownies for several meals. So sorry to disappoint them in that. But do thank you for all of your time. It was good to be together, and the conversation was certainly an important discussion for us to have in the community. I'd like to send a thank you to Dr. John Marchhausen, our superintendent of the schools, and appreciate him extending the opportunity for me to participate in their culture development workshop last week. And it was a really fruitful time, and I'm excited about some of the things that will be happening in our schools. So appreciate that. And then I wanted to bring one last thing up, a meeting that I attended today on behalf of MORPC, which was an executive strategy network in engaging the business community in our region in supporting perhaps the movement to forms of transit rail that could either incorporate Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, Cincinnati, or perhaps Pittsburgh, Columbus, Chicago, with the potential transportation budget that could be passed, excuse me, out of Washington, D.C. here. In the near term, MORPC is taking a pretty aggressive stand to be ready to respond to when transportation dollars are made available. So I want to thank Dan Sullivan on behalf of the Memorial Tournament, Cardinal Health, and certainly the interest of Wendy's and others, business leaders within Dublin, for helping us get ready to be able to be relevant in the conversation of rail and its funding when it comes along. So certainly want to thank all of them for their partnership on that as well. With that, General, I don't know if that's a record fast city council meeting, but I'm going to claim it until somebody tells me I'm wrong. It is. And with that, we will stand adjourned. Have a wonderful evening. The sun is still out.